Yeah. Woohoo, dude. Let's go. Thursday stream, what's up? Let's hear it, guys. That's right. That's right. Duncan's here. Duncan's here. Your boy's here. Chat's here. The music, the DJ is here. Hello, everybody. Welcome in. Am I too loud? Let me know if I'm too loud. If not, then it sounds like we're off to a good start. Honestly, audio problems being gone it makes my world spin. How are y'all doing today? Good to see you on a lovely Thursday. It's a little weird. The cookies taste different today, but I promise we'll get through it. And it's for good reason. We've got some new content coming out from CIG that we don't normally get. This looking like it is actually due to Olli, at least in some part. So we're going to cover that. Very quiet. I'm quiet? That's weird. Huh. Why would I be quiet? Hello, testing. All right, I guess I can boost my gain a little bit. Sounds dangerous. So this is going to be some video that he has taken. Just turn up the volume on my PC. Oh no, you're talking to the chat. Never mind. I'm dumb. I'm dumb, PK. I thought you were talking to me. So this is going to be the first time that content has come out of CIG, and Olli has specifically said in some way that he is part of the effort to do this. So I figure rather than the false start we have a couple weeks ago, we could talk about what that's actually looking like, his contributions, and how CIG is doing, because this is also looking like a little bit of a not so much a I'm sorry opportunity, but a little bit of a hey, we want to do things differently opportunity. And I'm not saying it's going to work or not, but this is what they're trying to do, so we're going to cover it. Good on your end. Thank you guys for the reassurance. Appreciate you. Space Tomato, Mrs. Tomato, and Ellis Anthony Tomato. Good to see you. Good to see you, Luna. I hope you and Rico are well. I hope you are having a lovely day. Mr. Ellis was keeping us nice and on our toes throughout the night. Actually, he was really good last night in his sleep. He didn't do too much fussing. He was sleeping for some big chunks of the night. They grow up so fast. 5 days! Gosh, before you know he's going to be out to college. Did you cover the letter from the chairman yet? Letter from the chairman? I've not heard of a letter from the chairman. Unless you mean the live experience thing? I did put out a video about this morning. I was considering going through this more in like a long form with y'all. Oh. There was a letter from the... Huh. Okay. This just turned into a longer stream. Wow. I think I might need to go get some tea, dude. What? Just guess what the main thing is? Let's be real, dude. The main thing better be Squadron 42. I know we want to hear about Star Citizen, but they better address the freaking elephant in the room. I'm happy to hear some Star Citizen stuff, but... Oh, is it the delay? Oh, shit. They did it on the letter? All right. This stream just got co-opted. Holy crap. Are you kidding me? Okay. Apparently, Squadron 42 has been delayed. It's finally happened, and it's through a letter. Oh, let's get into it. There's no reason to waste time. Citizens, thank you for supporting. I feel like we should have some more foreboding music on. Hold on a second. I think we got something for this. Turn that up. There we go. Thank you for supporting. Thank you for playing. Thank you for your feedback. No, okay, never mind. Let's do something fun. It doesn't have to be all dark. It has been great to see more of you playing Star Citizen than ever before. In classic Chris fashion, he starts with the numbers. With 35,890 concurrent players at our peak this year, and that growth goes well beyond a single peak, in the first half of 2026, we saw a 7% increase in average daily players and an 11% increase in monthly active players compared to last year. Seeing more of you playing and spending more time in the verse has been incredibly rewarding for all of us at CIG. He loves his numbers, man. Loves them. Star Citizen Alpha 4.10 is an important step on the road to Star Citizen 1.0 because it brings area and encounter instancing to the persistent universe with Siege of Orison. We already have a basic version of instancing in the game via player hangars, but this next iteration of instancing brings the ability to stream arbitrary areas and all the related content in on demand, a seamless connection to the main shared universe. Share along with dynamic server loading, instancing in 4.10 is the first use case of dynamic server meshing in Star Citizen. Okay, let's read that again. This next iteration of instancing brings the ability to stream arbitrary areas and all the related content in on demand, a seamless connection to the main shared universe, along with dynamic server loading. Instancing in 4.10 is the first use case of dynamic server meshing in Star Citizen. I feel like... I don't know if he might regret saying that in this instance, because while on the technical side, it might be dynamic server meshing. Dynamic server meshing also comes with a lot of kind of strings attached to it. The idea of shifting and spooling servers up in order to help with the load around in the game. Saying dynamic server meshing is starting to be used might make people think it's closer to that reality for the rest of the game than it is. But this is also what Benoit was saying in terms of quasi-dynamic server meshing that's being used in instancing. So this might be Chris jumping the gun a little bit there on the dynamic server meshing, but hell, he knows better than I do. So I'm not gonna say what he actually is talking about, but I don't know. You know, this starts to come down to the actual terminology being used. Either way, let's continue. Up until now, each universe shard has a set of number servers, each allocated to different areas called territories internally. So Microtech and everything on Microtech is a territory and has a server looking over it. But if too many people flock to Microtech or New Babbage, the static system doesn't have the ability to spin up additional servers to split the simulation load, and the singular server is in charge of, and the singular server in charge of the Microtech territory starts to run slower and slower, which results in degraded player experience. With dynamic server meshing, we will spin up additional servers as the simulation load demands, subdividing the territories into smaller ones. When instances are created, we monitor server load, and when we hit a specified maximum load ratio, we will spin up additional servers to manage the additional instances dynamically. So, again, instances. Well, they're spinning up additional servers to manage additional instances. The networking team calls this quasi-dynamic server meshing, which was what Benoit was mentioning, because we are not yet subdividing territories in the persistent universe, but it is the first case of spinning up and down servers dynamically based on load and required us to create a lot of services that you need for full dynamic server meshing in the persistent universe. Again, fantastic to hear, and he just basically clarified everything that I had tried to say. But this is also, when they made static server meshing, it was also that a lot of the services to create dynamic server meshing were also being created. This helped us get closer to dynamic server meshing faster. This is good progress. This is the update that we've been needing all year in terms of what the hell is going on with server meshing, because that ultimately lets you guys dictate how much content you can actually put in the game. If you can't create more servers to handle more of this game, then we're always going to be stuck in these ridiculous 3 to 4 server spaces where they don't have a bunch of points of interest in mission spawning. So this helps, and it probably is going to be very helpful long term, but it also kind of makes it sound like dynamic server meshing is close, which is what they made it sound like when server meshing first arrived, relatively speaking. And I think it's important to have a little bit of anti-hopium here. All right, it's a new practice. We're trying something different. While a lot of other MMOs have instancing, he says, they don't have the specific kind of instancing that we do. Special instancing that needs to seamlessly interact with fully dynamic, meshed, shared, persistent universe, which up the complexity level of the technology significantly. I'm not going to touch it. I'm happy to report that with your help testing Siege of Orison, the instancing is finally performing well. It took us longer to get there than we thought, but like a lot of things in Star Citizen, it turned out to have more complexity and edge cases than we expected. We can go actually back to the roadmap roundup on July 1st, not 12th, 1st. It's crazy they happen to have one on both days, where they talked about this, the delays that needed to happen for all of this to work. So here, let's see. So they say with these changes, Alpha 4.9 in mid-July will still deliver a variety of reprioritized bug fixes, optimizations, quality of life improvements, and new content. We're excited to get into your hands. Reflective of this new initiative that continues beyond this month's release into 4.10 in August and 4.11 in September, which means all Siege of Orison and instance-related content was moved out of 4.9 and into a new 4.10 scheduled for mid-August. These additional 4 weeks will allow us to continue hardening the feature and technology and related deliverables planned for that content. I have not seen how the instances have landed in the live game in 4.10. But it's definitely sorry, I just lost my train of thought. I was watching chat. It's definitely good that they delayed it because it was running like trash. I mean, you guys saw the SCL that ran. That's the whole thing. Everybody thought it was a big deal that the SCL was running poorly. Jared came out and said it was the best possible build they could have. It wasn't, because as you can see, they used additional 4 weeks to work on it, but that's besides the point. It's kind of crazy that that was supposed to come out in July, right? And that lays out their whole situation. They need to do that every single time they have a new feature coming. They're thinking about dropping it into a feature. They need to take a step back and consider that the best thing for the whole game and community is just to delay it into the next one. And I believe they just did that in this latest roadmap roundup that happened yesterday. They said item recovery, ship loadout improvements have been moved to 4.11 so they can test them more in PT before they go live. This is very good. We definitely need more of that. But that's not the end of the letter. As part of today's launch, we're sharing a video about the process of delivering 4.10, which I would recommend that you watch. This is what we're going to watch later. This is what we were actually going to come across, but this ended up taking our attention. Star Citizen has been made possible by all your support over the years, and one of the key aspects that encouraged that support was how open we have been with development, sharing our failures and successes along the way. Oh. Shall we talk iCache? Over this year and last, I've felt that we've been sharing the process of building Star Citizen less and less. Chris, don't gaslight us. We said this. That's what we said. Many of you backed for how open we were in development, and it's much easier to understand why things aren't always perfect when we share the process, and you can see the difficulties of achieving what is the most ambitious game in all of gaming. Let's just take the first half of that, second half of that sentence. Like, this is, I don't understand. I mean, I do understand. They just don't want to hear. I don't understand. I'm not going to lie. I don't get why they've allowed that relationship with the community to diminish so much when that is literally what made this project work in the first place. And it is continuously what makes the project work. I'm glad that we're seeing this here. I really am. I'm glad that they're acknowledging it. I hope that it means that we're going to see actual change and not just like Jared saying that we're going to get regular content and then us not getting regular content. But it's got to stick. We'll see if it does. This video is the first step at getting back to going behind the scenes at CIG. Everyone at CIG is passionate about Star Citizen and doing nothing but the best work. Sharing more of our development is a great way to show that. So we're getting back to our roots. Oh, you gotta be. Continuing on. Jeez. Okay, this letter keeps going. Continuing on, he said, I also want to take the opportunity to clear up some misconceptions that I see in community discussion. The biggest one I see floated is Star Citizen's technical issues are due to its engine choice. Oh boy. Star Engine is our engine, which originally started as a branch from CryEngine 3. Since October of 2015, we stopped taking updates, and we have just been refactoring and adding to the codebase to the extent that there is almost nothing left of the original engine. The Entity System Renderer, which has hardware-assisted ray tracing, global illumination now for Squadron 42, GPU particle system, DNA and facial animation system, audio system, UI system, network and replication systems, physics, and all our game systems are entirely new and bespoke to Star Citizen and Squadron 42. In addition to that, a game engine is only a small part of the code and systems you need to run a massively multiplayer game like Star Citizen. We have dozens of distributed online services that run in the cloud, connected to multiple backend databases that all have to be managed as one big synchronistic system. The switch from CryEngine to Lumberyard was for Amazon Web Services, which is where we ran our servers and platform for many years. Dude, the changeover to Lumberyard is, it's pretty crazy because they were in a legal battle with Crytek over this whole change. And one of Crytek's big things was, you've breached the terms of all of our services in the way that you've built and marketed Squadron 42 and Star Citizen as separate games. You've showed off the code, you've done this, you've done that. And allegedly, they may have been on to some things. Allegedly. That's not me saying that. That's just, you know, whatever. But it all kind of fell out when Amazon showed everybody in the court. I think that they had sent an email to Crytek in like 2017 or something, basically telling Crytek, yeah, we already licensed our engine out to CIG, and they got everything in CryEngine along with that license. So they were okay after that. But the entire switch over to Lumberyard was crazy. It also happened at a time where they technically weren't allowed to advertise Squadron 42 as its own separate game unless it was running on a separate engine. And so they kind of like switched to Lumberyard and then started advertising Squadron 42 as its own separate game because technically it wasn't on CryEngine. It was a whole thing. Crazy thing. I have a video. If you are a supporter, it's available to you now. It'll be out later this year for everybody else. All right. Continuing on, where were we? Lumberyard started as a full branch of the same CryEngine branch we are based off, so we could switch to it with no changes on the core engine side as Amazon had bought out the rights to that version of CryEngine. Amazon heavily modified CryEngine over the years, which is what people know as the Lumberyard engine, and there was a good work in there, but we never took any of this as our tech roadmap has always specifically been for the needs of Star Engine and Squadron 42. I will point you towards the recent podcast episode I had with developer Carto. Okay, that's not Carto. We did not go to the casino. Might have been cool, but no. We just talked, and we talked. This is also not Carto. Sorry, guys. We talked about development in Lumberyard. He did work for New World and PlanetSide 2 and a few other projects that I think was really interesting. They'll definitely be back on the show. But for this one, I think it's a good talk to go and get some insight into how Lumberyard is perceived by people and how it works. Anyways, continuing on. In 2020, we came to an agreement with Crytek that gave us a perpetual license for the branch of CryEngine we were on for all our current and future games, giving us full control over the use of Star Engine going forward, which you can appreciate is important due to the investments we made into our technology. There is no game engine that can do everything we can do in Star Citizen. Chris, come on, man. I heard Unreal Engine can do it. If it's possible, Unreal can do it. It's Unreal, dude. There is also no game that can do everything we can do at the scale and fidelity that we do it. This is, for better or worse, this is why the game still exists. People will continue to talk about how terrible it is that this game keeps going, keeps pulling in money, it keeps selling stuff and not meeting promises, and like, dude, I genuinely, I wish another big company would try this. Please to God, somebody else try it, because this is the only game that does the things they're trying to do. I think Space Engineers 2 is actually looking like it might start to be an interesting alternative, maybe if they can get more narrative content and more scale to it. But ultimately, it's just, what else are you gonna do? If the game has a unique selling point, it's gonna keep selling that point to people who want it. And I think until they have more competition in that space, it's still going to be hard to unseat them. That being said, continuing on, sorry, all these interjections. That is because it is a crazily complex and demanding set of requirements to operate with the detail we do in seamless first-person viewpoint in a universe that you can go to any quarter of and explore. Every planet or moon is fully realized and circumnavigable on foot, by vehicle, or by ship. I feel like Chris thinks the people who are reading this have never heard of Star Citizen. Every vehicle operates like a real one, a complex set of different components that enable your ship to fly and sustain you. Components you can physically interact with, that can break or be damaged, that you can repair or replace. You can fluidly go from foot into ground vehicle, into spaceship, take off, fly to a moon or a spaceship you can see from the ground, all while being able to fully move around that ship, which in some cases is the size of a whole game level in most FPS games. Land, get out, and explore that planet, all seamlessly with no loading screens or delays. The freaking master of easy to read sentences. Building a tech stack that can deliver all this crazy investment in time and money. To put the resources in perspective, our core tech group is 146 strong with 106 engineers in it. Interesting to hear. This is our engine, tools, and back-end team dedicated to building the technology we use. We are very lucky to be afforded the time and money to invest into creating technology that enables Star Engine. Most developers don't have the resources to do this, which is why you see people licensing Unreal or Unity, as well as building games with smaller scopes. There was a lot of headlines about Star Citizen passing the $1 billion raised threshold earlier this year, but the reality is building something like we are requires funding at this level. Rockstar, who are the main developer for GTA 6, has spent over $2 billion in staff and office costs in the UK from 2019 until the end of 2025. Oh, he's got the records. He's reading it off. He's like, okay, what was it? Yeah. Glad I paid for that PI. I know this because, like CIG, Rockstar has to publish their financials on Companies House, and so their costs are public. Okay, no PI, just kidding. This is not to criticize them at all. I love their games, and their ambition and commitment to gameplay, married to fidelity and scale, is awe-inducing. I am pointing this out as it takes this kind of funding to build games and technology that do things you haven't seen before. I have actually seen, I think this is I think he needs to stop bringing up this comparison because it doesn't invite the conversation that he's looking for to get out of it. But I do find it interesting that there were revelations recently, like in the last couple of days, that Grand Theft Auto was... I don't think I'm gonna, like, I'm not gonna be able to scroll and find it. Just that Grand Theft Auto was, it started development in 2013. And they've been working on it for like 12 to 13 years. And people were like, are you kidding me? You haven't gotten it out to us yet. And Star Citizen folks are just like... But Grand Theft Auto is a huge thing. That company's got a lot of pieces moving. It's never a one-to-one comparison, so there's no point in doing it. And I think this whole section feels like a Reddit comment. I understand. He probably has a lot to say. You know, he doesn't say a lot, but there is a lot said about him. I would get defensive as well. I would want to explain the engine and what we've done with it as well. What they've built is truly impressive. Even though there's no game to play, they have built a unique game engine that, even if it has its problems, I think will bring them a lot of benefit in the future. And it allows them to build a game and have a moat that a lot of people can't break. That means that many people aren't making this type of game. That's besides the point, though, because you can have your own engine. If it feels like it's broken to everybody, it's not going to matter. Maybe that's what comes next. The second misconception I see thrown around is that Star Citizen has a skeleton crew and all the resources and money is being spent on the Squadron 42. I want to clarify here. Outside of Core Tech Group, we have a further 611 staff in development across our 4 studios. So that would be... Where was Core Tech? That was 146. So 146 plus the, what was it? 611 is 757. It's a good plane. But also it's less employees. They have downscaled. Unless this is not including like support staff, 757 staff is smaller than they were previously by a decent amount. Let me see if I can find this real quick. There's also the thing you have to remember is this is not all because people have just come up with like some crazy idea that they have a skeleton crew on Squadron 4 or on Star Citizen. Let me see if I can find this for you real quick. It's probably not going to be all that quick. Bryce Waterhouse Cooper. All right, you know what? Instead of finding it, we're just going to go to the video where I talked about it because that makes it easier. And in doing so, I'm going to switch over to my... Here we go. Okay. So I did make a video about this, and there was a statement in their financial report. Here we are. Oh, you know what? Reading that background, this might actually be in their normal one. Let's see. I believe we just need to search for the word heretofore. No? All right, priority. No? Screw it. We'll just look at it here. So this is a statement they put out on the 2023 financial records, which came out in 2024, or for us, rather, 2025. As set out in my last report, we also made the decision at the start of 2023 that we need to dedicate and ring fence more resources for our Squadron 42 game in order to get that game to feature complete by the end of the year. Hitherto, it was all too easy to divert resources earmarked for Squadron into Star Citizen to tackle live issues raised by our customers and community stemming from our latest releases, but this was at the expense of Squadron development. So although an expensive commitment, the decision was taken to devote these planned and required resources to Squadron 42 in the interest of making solid progress towards our ultimate goals. This was a clear sign that Squadron, in the time that it was taking resources away from Star Citizen actively. And because Squadron 42 didn't release after that, it's still here 3 years later taking resources. It only makes sense that people are still assuming a lot of folks at the company are still going back and working for that game, on that game. But as he says here, for the last couple of years, we've been split approximately 50-50 between Star Citizen and Squadron 42. Before that, it was more heavily weighted to Star Citizen. One of the reasons that Squadron 42 has been taking the time it has is that we are always reassigning resources onto Star Citizen to get the patches out. That's what we just read. Wait, dude, you cannot say the same thing. Where is it? It was all too easy to divert resources earmarked for Squadron onto Star Citizen, and this was at the expense of Squadron's development plan. And then Chris is now saying one of the reasons that Squadron has been taking so long was because we were reassigning resources to Star Citizen. This doesn't sound good. That's not good. This is just going to make everybody who plays Star Citizen be like, wait a second. That's what it felt like when Star Citizen was prioritized? I don't know if this is going to be beneficial for him to be saying. He said they were reassigning resources onto Star Citizen to get the patches out, which pushed back Squadron. In fact, after our 2023 CitizenCon in LA, where we showed off a lot of the functionality we were working on for Squadron, the majority of the gameplay engineering team spent a large part of 2024 bringing a lot of those features into Star Citizen at the expense of Squadron. Towards the end of 2024, we decided that we couldn't continue, so we shifted the balance back. In these final months on Squadron 42, that split is now 55 to 45% in Squadron 42's favor. 45% wouldn't be in Squadron's favor. To ensure we get Squadron 42 bug-free, polished, and optimized, because the sooner we finish Squadron 42, the sooner the majority of the development staff can focus on bringing Star Citizen to 1.0. I mean, at least he says it. Having to split time and resources between two hugely ambitious projects is very difficult. I would also like to introduce you to a friend of mine website, the Woo Club. He made a website that tracked the things that they said. Oh no, I hope it's not gone. Yeah, he made a website to track the things that they were talking about. I can't go there anymore? Ah, that's a bummer. Well, unfortunately, I guess we can't go there anymore. Let me think. I did make a video about this. So pace tomato too. If we go to here and then we search for maybe promise. Here we go. Okay. So this is a video I made about... Man, I hate that. This is a video I made about all of the promises that they had said, or kind of said, during the CitizenCon 2023 show.
It's our intention, not making 100% promise, just so everyone remembers that.
He went back there and somebody was like, hey man, you said this. Can you go back out there?
To Star Citizen through next year. So it's not going to be gated on having to be after Squadron 42. So we are...
Sir, you got one more year to meet that. What was he even talking about there?
Through to get them into
and like make sure
members that is our intention, not making 100% promise, just so everyone remembers that.
He went or maybe the end of the same citizen.
Okay.
Everything that we've been showing in this video is what he's talking about. So we did have this list ourselves, and we had all of these things tracked, and we saw plenty of them delivered. Granted, the master modes, for instance, was delivered in 3.23, gonna be scrapped. Freight elevators were delivered in 3.24, been broken. Star map upgraded, delivered in 3.23, crap. There's a lot of stuff that they delivered, yes, but hasn't really been consistently working the whole time. Now we also have this website. This is the one I was trying to access just now. He actually posted all of this straight up pretty easily in categories for everyone to track, and he came out to find that only 29 of the 56 listed features that they had shown at that CitizenCon had been delivered by the end of 2024, including, or rather not including, things like the server meshing, the data running, which was the ability to store things in data points, FPS repair gameplay, FPS scanning, 3D mini-map downloadable to your mobiGlass, the new audio simulation, ray traced global illumination, engineering gameplay took another year after that, base building was not in. There was plenty of stuff that wasn't delivered. So, necessary context when he's saying stuff like this. The majority of the stuff they delivered barely got in. Now this brings him to the thing he wanted to touch on most. Squadron 42's release. Woohoo! Hey, I just realized you guys can't see chat. What a shame that is. There we go. All right. At CitizenCon 2024, we announced we would ship in 2026. Our plan was to release in Q4 around IAE, but much like the rest of the industry, there is no way I want to launch my spiritual successor to Wing Commander, a game that has had 12 years of blood, sweat, and tears invested into it. He says we started the development. It's always context. We started the development in 2014 as 2013 was opening studios, hiring people, and getting the Hangar module out for Star Citizen. Launching into the attention buzzsaw of GTA 6. We said this was how it was going to be, right? GTA 6 was going to end up being the excuse. It's funny because Chris Roberts did invoke GTA last year when he was talking about the idea of when it would be coming out. He said that it was a kind of... Let's see if I can find that article. All right, this is an article covering another article, basically where he was quoting saying that he hopes it's going to be as big as GTA 6 to somebody like him, which I understand. He said other than GTA 6 is probably the biggest budget AAA game, which is no doubt true. And ultimately, this was the point at which he was starting to kind of include them in the same conversation. And then we jump forward to the This Week in Video Games article, where he again mentions Squadron 42 and kind of the release of it, how he wants it to go, and what's important for it. I believe in here he mentions GTA. No? Oh, this isn't even... What is this? I don't know if he mentions it or not here. It's not actually searching anything. What is this? What is going on? Can you not search stuff on this website? Okay, that's weird. Grand Theft Auto. Yes. So here he says, we're going to get Squadron out first. The plan is for the end of this year, but there's a certain thing in the industry that we, like everyone else, we have to pay attention to. So I can't 100% guarantee it. Hinting at Rockstar's Grand Theft Auto 6 releasing in November. So he doesn't actually say it, but he's clearly hinting at it, and he's starting to hedge. This is still saying that they're aiming for the end of the year. But if you go forward to their Variety article, which came out, I think, about 2 months later or so. I don't know if they mentioned, they don't mention GTA here, but they also say that the release of Squadron is getting imminently closer. We're getting imminently closer to launch. I can say in game development language, it's very hard to keep under wraps with this. The marketing campaign is quite different from Star Citizen. All of this is not, it's not talking about 2026 anymore. It starts talking about like, oh, we're getting close. We're getting close. And so around that time in May, that is when a lot of signs point to things having shifted. Between like February and May, the idea that is this going to be able to make it this year or not, that's when things potentially shifted. This is what you heard from the Astropub in May. He did release a video about this. It caused a lot of waves, a lot of drama, a lot of talk. But a lot of people still were not believing what he was saying for whatever reason. Maybe think he has his own agenda, maybe think that he's just making stuff up, maybe think he's burning employees. But what he was talking about was related to what it seems might have happened around this time that eventually made them go, hey, we're not going to make it this year. Let's start working on a delay. Now, I don't know what that includes, but we can keep reading and see. He said, we have taken a look at the release windows at the start of 2027 and decided that Q2 provides a better time for Squadron to release. I agree with him there. To be quite honest, I don't think Fable is too much for them to worry about, but it is still a big release in February. And January, February is just kind of early in the year. Not a lot of money to spend for people. Yeah, I would think Invictus would make the most sense. He said, we are allowing a small number of original backers and longtime Star Citizen content creators an opportunity to play Squadron 42 this October 9th and 10th. We'll be making further announcements about our release plans during this time and a specific release date shortly afterwards. Still no specific release date, bro? Oh, man. Dude, I've been saying, like, they might be able to get away with a delay if they have a release date, but doing a delay and not having a release date is insane. Exodus is Q2, yeah. Expanse Osiris Reborn is also Q2, and honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if Falling Frontier becomes Q2. Dude, that's crazy. That is nuts. I can't believe they're not giving a real release date. I know a lot of you will be disappointed to not be playing Squadron 42 at the end of this year, but it is the best thing for the project, and it is truly something special, and so needs to the opportunity to have the focus of the wider gaming world. Okay. To be honest, I do think this is good for the game, but we'll get to that. I want to wrap this up by thanking all of you for your support. I've seen a few people question why there wasn't a letter from the chairman at the $1 billion crowdfunding milestone. And honestly, I felt it shouldn't be about the money, as Star Citizen and Squadron 42 are much more than a financial headline. But I know things change. But look at when the letter from the chairman was coming in. Every time it came in, it was linked to a money thing, right? And then I do think that over time they got it to be linked to a tech thing. We got a letter from the chairman after PES was figured out. We got a letter from the chairman after server meshing was going into testing. We got a letter from the chairman with 4.0. We got a letter from the chairman at the end of last year. I don't think there's a reason to do a letter from the chairman other than just something initial or something impactful that needs to be communicated about. And fact of the matter is, they gave that letter to Variety. That's what happened. In reflection, he said, I was looking at this wrong. The $1 billion is a testament and celebration of all of you, the backers and community members that have given me and CIG your faith and patience, that have stood by through thick and thin. All of you that have held the line, it is a testimony to the power of collective to make something unprecedented happen. There is no publisher or private equity investor that would have the patience and willingness to invest in the long term like you have. You have raised $1 billion to make something that could not exist otherwise, and for that I am incredibly lucky and humbled by. There are some amazing things ahead, but even right now, I feel that Star Citizen is special, and that is because of all of you. I hope you enjoy 410, and I will see you in the verse. To be quite honest, it's words. The words are good, but it's got to stick with action. Like this right here, in reflection, I was looking at this wrong. The people got to freaking feel that. There needs to be a good level of there's got to be like a back and forth level of respect there. I'm not saying that they don't respect the players or anything like that. They put out a game, they do their job, they're paid as a company to make a game, but the game only exists because they have done such a good job with the community, and the way that they've handled this year has just it's really burned the community. Solid that we get in a letter from the chairman. I think it's late. I think a lot of it is kind of what letters of the chairman you sometimes tend to be, which is just explaining why things have happened, unfortunately. Sometimes they are more celebratory, but this definitely felt like a hold the phone, here's what we have, here's why it's special, here's why we need a little bit longer. And that's probably not going to land well with people. The game getting delayed again and having no specific release date is wild. The acknowledgements of how much they've messed up with the communication is good. This explanation of money, no, it's not even this. Where is it? This one. This explanation of the money in the project, it's a lot to dig into there that we'll get to at some point. But ultimately, they're not going to make progress in the situation that they're in unless the game itself starts to reflect this. And luckily, it seems like with 4.10, they're trying to get there. They've got this huge announcement that they made with a lot of postmortems about the bugs they've been fixing and things they've been working on. So they are trying. And I hope that along with these words, we get some good action and it's consistent. We won't know for a while, but there's your first look. BS, delaying it again. 26 has been an absolute L for CIG. Squadron would have been the only thing saving it. You're not that burned, but you guess you also haven't been that invested either. Not everyone's burned. Not everybody is burned. Not everyone feels the same way. Plenty of people are perfectly fine with how things are going. Plenty of people will be happy with this letter. Like, we're not a monotonous community, which is nice. Hot take on your part, Gorilla. You think that the delay on the letter to the chairman was a wise move? Give a few weeks for the SC live stream drama to blow over. His message is not as widely criticized. You do agree with the actions over words, though. Yeah. It's good we're not waiting till October. I said, I think in a video I released possibly today, I said that we might not hear it. We won't hear anything until October, and I was wrong. So it's good that we're hearing about the delay. I think everybody knew it at this point. He's literally doing it the week of Gamescom. So he's like, nobody's going to believe it anymore after this. But yeah. Let's see. All right. The next thing we're going to go over is some content that they put out. Actually, it's this video that they put out along with this. Feels like the first content that's being put with the Olli stamp of approval on it. So it might be significant. Sorry for the typing. The timing is dubious, an hour and a half before Rockstar becomes the only thing that gaming news channels are talking about. Good call on their part. Half of this is just finding reasons things went wrong and then delaying Squadron because of GTA. Yeah. Honestly, I think actually there is more to talk about there. The GTA excuse is an excuse. Now, some companies are using the GTA excuse, and I think making sense with it. Fable, for instance. I genuinely believe that Fable was in a position where they probably were going to need to delay from September, maybe into November, or yeah, probably November. But then they ended up just using it as an excuse to get it out in February. Pretty solid move from Microsoft. They also have a really, really big strategy that's going on because they have huge publishing, just reaching all over the industry and putting out projects that we're not even thinking about. But the GTA thing is just an excuse. And the timing of this announcement right before Rockstar has their big thing on Netflix. So sorry anybody who's not a Netflix person, you can't join. But yeah, this happens in 53 minutes, so obviously people are going to be pretty busy with the news of this. Gamescom's going on, so there's a lot of news there. Star Wars Zero Company came out today, so that's also taking some time. I'm going to go and get that and do some work on that tonight. If you're going to drop bad news, I guess this is probably the time to do it. But I think this is going to go over rough. I don't know. We'll have a lot more to say about this later. Probably do a little podcast extra. Let's see if I can get Astropub in to talk more about it. You think that this is a great decision for the game. You do think that it is disappointing that there is no release date alone. Using the wording Q2, I think it speaks volumes, right? Now, Q2 is what, April to June? April 1st to June 30th. Like, come on. Just say it's releasing at Invictus. He could have at least said, like, late May. On the positive side, you love the new Siege of Orison. Yeah, that's good. And yeah, we were expecting a delay at this point. They don't need GTA as an excuse. The only excuse anyone needs is the context. It's just not done yet. And there's also that. Dude, if it's not done, just don't release it. If it's not working, don't release it. It sounded like it was going to be undercooked this year, and I was genuinely worried that they were going to try and put it out, and we were going to have a situation where they spent 13 years on this game, and then it finally came out, and it was still kind of broken. This gives them the chance to make it as good as it can be. God, it can't be delayed again. I feel like that's stupid to say, but here we are. It also gives them a chance to get Star Citizen into a better place, so it's not an embarrassment when people start to try and look for whatever's going on with Squadron. This gives them a few more months. Now, they can potentially drop, say, a release date trailer at Video Game Awards. I know, I'm already coping. Like, theoretically, best case scenario, they release a trailer at Video Game Awards that gets people tuned into Squadron. People hear that it's being made by the folks who make Star Citizen. They realize Star Citizen's a scam, so Squadron might be a scam. But there's big actors involved. So what is this? Is it real? They go and they look at Star Citizen to see if it's actually a game that can be played. That moment, when they go and look to see if it's a game that can be played, is probably going to be one of the most important moments for Star Citizen. And this gives them a few more months to get ready for that. Luckily, it's coming at a time when they are getting, hopefully, their act together on getting the game into some stable environment. But the year is wrapping up wildly different than I think we thought it might when we were opening it. And I'm interested to see how they're going to be able to navigate all of this. Anyways, with that being said, I'm going to go tell Mrs. Tomato, because this also has a bunch of implications for our year. So give me 1 second. Be right back. Okay, she's gone. She's gonna freak out. This is quite wild. Let's get to the video. But first I want to do a little preamble, okay? I want to give you guys a little update on how we've gotten here. So everybody remembers the big Star Citizen Live, everybody's favorite episode. No.
Ready to shift.
Dang, they put out a lot of trailers to this, huh? Everyone remembers the big Star Citizen Live. Good times.
All right, let's hear a lot.
Now, this is what people think
Obviously
is what Olli is supposed to be doing at CIG. This is why people think that he was hired. He came in to replace Jared and be on camera, and now he did that and Jared's angry. This is not the case. If you go back to Olli's Twitter account, first of all, you can see that he put out a video, or a tweet rather, that is emphasizing this video as being kind of the sort of thing that he's working on. It's the first time I've seen him take kind of any sort of credit for stuff coming out of CIG, so I do think that this is something he's had a pretty big hand in. But if you scroll down, you'll see his post from a while ago where he talked about the context of joining CIG. He said, just to add, this new job is not on video. It's helping Jared with the other half of his responsibilities, that being probably scheduling and like organizing things for people. And when I talked to him about this shortly after he got the job, he sounded pretty gung-ho about it. He didn't sound put off by the Star Citizen Live that happened. He sounded more like, I think people should just wait and see, because that wasn't really, I think, his main thing. And so what we're seeing here is a concerted effort from the company to kind of put out more content that's showing that they want to do better at making the game stable. Is this going to happen? I don't know. We've done a whole video on this. We won't get back into it here. But this comes with a letter from the chairman. It comes with a roadmap roundup that has some delays on it. It comes with a decent concerted effort to push this idea that things are moving forward. But we've had this before. Those of you who have been Star Citizen fans for a while may remember the briefing room, which was introduced, let's see here, October of 2020 during the pandemic. Listen to how they introduced this series.
Dearsley, and talked about the progress of where we were, and he's like, hey, give me a couple weeks and it's basically going to be done, right? So we said, okay, wait, hold on. It went from this casual small conversation that we had recorded and we were all proud of and thought was good to, you know what, no, we're going to do a bigger thing. And then once we looked at that, we said, wait, why don't we actually look at a larger, wider amount of progress across multiple disciplines, and see if we can put this show together on a quarterly basis. So this first one's a little bit longer than they may be moving forward. We're not sure how the length's going to be moving forward. But, you know, we dig into some guys, you get to hear some history, you get to see certain level of detail, you'll hear design choices with Nick and a couple of the other guys. And I think, you know, I think people are going to like it, and I think it's going to mature. The show's going to mature as we move forward.
And I think the other thing I would just add to it is that
we only ever got one episode. Now, interesting context, this is Brian Chambers, who really ran a lot of the Squadron 42 development and worked at Frankfurt CIG. He actually left the company. He announced his departure this summer, but I hear that it actually might have happened last year, and he only just announced it this year. Unfortunately, a lot of the thinking was, hey, he finished his game, he finished his work, he's kicking back while the game comes out in a little bit, and he's good. Now the game is delayed till next year, coming out a full year after he's left the company. Brings up more questions about why he left. I won't dig into them here, though. I'm just planting that seed in your head like a little troll. No, mainly because we're probably going to revisit it at some point and talk about it more. That being said, this was the briefing room, and they only released one episode of it. And then when they stopped releasing it, they were like, hey, this is going to be marketing for Squadron 42. We're going to put one of these out every so often, leading up to the release of that game, so keep an eye out. I find that it reminds me of the Cyberpunk Nightwire series, which was meant to give people a kind of 20 to 30 minute look at different aspects of the game every couple of months leading up to the release of the game. Really good marketing, in my opinion, and I hope that they do stick to this briefing room strategy and they do this kind of talk leading up to Squadron, because if you go to the other side of this same episode, this is where you can learn a lot of how the game's going to work. Like the way that they lay out they walk through an entire level here, just a level design, and the way they talk about it leads you to believe that this kind of plays a little bit like a new age Deus Ex or Half-Life game, not the old Deus Ex like Human Revolution or Mankind Divided. Just with the way that you can proceed through different parts of the level, you can trigger things to happen that make the level run differently and make AI move throughout it differently, all that kind of stuff. It was an interesting look into the game, and I think we could benefit from it if they do it regularly and if they stick to it. But just like with the briefing room, we can't go and see this new Inside Star Citizen video that they're making that's trying to communicate to the players. Thank you. Appreciate you, Arcanian. We can't see that coming in and then dropping off in a month. So I don't know how this video is supposed to go. I have not watched it yet. I wanted to wait to do a live reaction with you guys. So we'll dive into it here. We'll talk about it and we'll see what their plans are for it. Ultimately, it's good that they're putting something out. Inside CIG is telling me that they kind of want to help get a better view of the company out there. They're actively starting to not sterilize, but repair the reputation, I guess, the public view of CIG, and not just from the perspective of what the game is, but from the perspective of how do they do development and how do they work as a company. This is good. I don't think this is in response to the Star Citizen Live as much as people are going to probably say that it is. I think this is ultimately just basically a long-term thing that they've been needing to start doing. It's PR, it's marketing, it's promotional, it's going to feel pretty corporate, I imagine, but hopefully we'll get some good information out of it and at least learn some more about inside the company. Let's dive in.
Basically, what we're building with Star Citizen is freedom.
4.10, the
Dude, you can't start it like that. It'd be like, this is the truth.
technology is brand new.
Instancing is complicated, but it doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it.
Oh, boy. All right, so it's also already coming off as very overproduced. I feel like they don't need to. You know, the video idea is good. It doesn't have to be really fancy and well done. But I guess they make a lot of money. They got to show up.
What makes Star Citizen a unique experience is the fact that it's vast and it's open, it's a multi-system game.
So when we're trying to have instancing come on and be this seamless experience...
Okay, dude, this, you know what this looks like, actually? This looks like practice for the documentary that they promised all of the Kickstarter backers were going to get. This looks like a documentary that they've got an outside studio to work on. I wonder, I guess this probably is internal. They've got a team. They've got a good team behind it now.
That is a large technological challenge to undertake.
There's a lot of changes we had to do to the engine, which affect how the content is built.
But then instancing creates an opportunity to tell stories and make content for a certain aspect of Star Citizen.
Instancing is the first use case of us dynamically loading up servers for the simulation, and that's the first step to the fully dynamic server meshing, where that's the goal that we're moving towards.
In terms of how 4.10 compares to other releases, the learning and the understanding of how that technology will work within our universe has been the challenge.
I've always wanted to sort of get lost in a science fiction universe.
Wait, what's that? 23rd? The 3rd.
I've always wanted to sort of get lost in a science fiction universe, and I want it to be fully immersive, and I wanted it to always be my point of view. So basically what we're building with Star Citizen is my kind of dream sandbox freeform game. You know, there's still obviously quite a few things to be finished off, but it's complicated.
Ooh, this is a dude, this studio's got people pissed. Because I guess it was very expensive. I understand where he's coming from, man. I don't necessarily fault Chris for the way Star Citizen has gone. it must be incredibly difficult to get essentially like a legion of people who are as passionate about a space environment as you are, who are willing to fund it, and also a legion of people who can build it, and trying and just getting caught up in trying to make it happen and trying to have some fun with it. I think the problem is that he didn't have enough folks in close proximity who were reeling that back and making sure that was realistic the whole time. I hope that now he does. But definitely this project got way out there.
But it's complicated, especially because we're building this huge sort of kind of connected world that has many, not just multiple servers to handle the simulation, but it also has multiple services to handle various things, like whether it's your wallet or missions also has a service.
Sending money.
There's a whole bunch of the economy will have a service, and so you have a lot of interconnected systems that are all sort of working together, and a lot of the times the issues that we see are because of that complexity. And the rising challenge on Star Citizen is because
you're gonna have so many like screenshots taken from this video of people analyzing these rooms and you know, judging how much money it's taken to make. So this is that space station that was in the squadron demo I just showed you in the briefing room. Kind of looks like the Citadel from Mass Effect. There's a giant Gladius back here that I'm sure is going to get some call outs. But I mean, pretty standard office otherwise, it looks like.
And the rising challenge on Star Citizen is because the game has actually become more performant and has become more stable, and it's more persistent, and more people are playing it now than have played it ever. So every year we have more people join and more people play, and our concurrency gets higher and higher. And one of the things is you've just got a large group of people, and then, you know, when some things aren't working quite as well as they are, it can get frustrating, especially when you're sort of in for a longer term. But that is absolutely something that we're very focused on fixing and improving. One of the reasons why we're showing sort of a little behind the curtains, like we used to, I really felt like when we first came out in 2012 and, you know, we started you know, the whole crowdfunding campaign, we were one of the very first people to say, hey, you know, open development, it's not just we're going to do the crowdfunding and then close our doors and come back in X number of years when the game's finished. It's like, no, we're going to bring you along with the development. No one here enjoys the game breaking and not working. Everybody working on Star Citizen really cares about what they do, and they love what they do, and they want to make the best game possible. To build what we're doing and the tech in terms of having that seamless experience where it's all from your first person, you can walk in to a spaceship and fully interact with, you know, it properly, that has fully physicalized components. And
all right, I want to take a moment real quick and talk about the office here, because I am also simultaneously doing a little bit of a 1 minute of transfers. Sorry, guys. The office, a lot of people have commented on like the office being too nice or having too much nice stuff, but I think a lot of folks would say that a bare office is not, like, I used to work in an engineering office in Orlando, and I actually was really excited to go work at it. I don't know why I had this idea in my mind that like an office in Orlando must be fun. It's Orlando. And I got there and it was the most boring little sub-development office, you know. I'm sure many of you who work in Florida probably know. You got the little water drainage ditch out back, freaking water floating in the air constantly. It's humid. And the parking lots are always tiny. That's just how it is. And it's not always fun to go to. Having a nice office is okay, I think. It's just something that makes people more excited to be in the office, especially because they force everyone to be in the office. There is a, they have like a, I think they did like a back to work kind of thing that was a little bit controversial at the time. And so ooh, is that new gun? That's a new gun coming in 411. And so it makes sense. They need to make sure that they have enough good, interesting spaces to get people to want to come back, or else they're just going to keep losing folks because they can't pay as high as some of the other gaming companies out there. Like, they make a lot of money, but they're not making billions. You know, they can't pay out like, say, 2K or Embracer, like to cut people. You get what I mean, though. You have to have certain things that attract people in and certain things that make people want to stay there. You worked in a small game studio in Hamburg and it looked more fancy than this? Little boutique gaming? These people spend a lot of their time at this place. Make it comfortable. It's practically a living environment for some companies. Also, CIG is like a tech company. I keep saying it and it sounds real buzzy, but this is legitimately, they work like a tech company and they're starting to transition more to a game company in style. But dude, they really, like, a lot of the things they've picked up, the habits that they formed, the way that they do things comes from the tech industry. And part of that is just like that office culture of, you got to have an espresso machine and a couch where people can chill and chat, and like bike lanes. And I don't know, if you get to Google size, you got to have habitation on the site so that you can have people living and working from the same place. It gets bad. But let's continue. You used to work in a lab that was all white, everyone was wearing white, then you step into the blank office space with bad lighting, sucked your soul out. Aye. Yeah, bad lighting can go pretty bad too. That's true. It did look a little bit dark in some of these shots. But
crowdfunding and close our doors and come back in X number of years when the game's finished. It's like, no, we're going to bring you along with the development. No one here enjoys the game breaking and not working. Everybody working on Star Citizen really cares about what they do, and they love what they do, and they want to make the best game possible. To build what we're doing and the tech in terms of having that seamless experience where it's all from your first person, you can walk in to a spaceship and fully interact with, you know, it properly, that has fully physicalized components, and then see a moon up in the sky and take off and fly towards it and land on it without any loading screen, and have all that level of detail and fidelity. That requires very, very, very specific and hard to write technology. It's why people haven't done it. And it takes a lot of effort and work and technical knowledge to do that. We're lucky to have a lot of incredible people on all the levels, on the creative level and the technical level, but it's still hard to do. But when it's there, it will be an experience like nothing else. I mean, I truly believe that, like, why people are so passionate, I mean, on both sides of the thing, right? Like, it's because it does something that you don't normally get. And I also think that you sort of, a lot of times people sort of forget that that's what, you know, that, and they forget, like, all the things that have happened, the advancements that happen, so they're just focusing on this thing right now that isn't working and they're frustrated with, which is okay.
Wait a second. Wait a second. I'm sorry. I am missing stuff on the screen, am I not? That's the Kraken. They showed the Kraken. Hold on a second. I gotta go back. Where was that gun? I need to see what this gun looks like when it fires. I'm sorry.
To build what we're doing and the tech in terms of having that seamless
it literally is the plasma effect. It's just the exact same plasma effect. Dang it. I was hoping it was going to be a little more exciting than that. Okay, let's go back to the Kraken.
That you don't normally get. And I also think that you sort of, a lot of times people sort of forget that that's what, you know, that, and they forget, like, all the things that have happened, the advancements that happen, so they're just focusing on this thing right now that isn't working and they're frustrated with, which is okay. But if you,
I want a picture of that bridge.
This thing right now that isn't working and
dude, this bridge looks incredible. This looks so cool. I love the multiple, like, kind of vertical layers of it. It definitely feels, like the Ironclad bridge, but bigger. It also feels kind of like the Reclaimer bridge. Definitely very industrial.
which is okay. But if you step back from it all and you go, okay, look at all this stuff that's being built and it all works together. For me, that's like Star Citizen would be freedom.
410 is a unique challenge because it's been tied with technology and flagship content. Instancing is complicated, not necessarily because we're trying to reinvent what instancing is. It's to implement instancing into the Star Citizen codebase and the game that we've made. And in any large technological challenge, the challenge there is trying to make sure that we're covering all of the broad elements that it's exposed to. Now, and that's not even to do with the content side of things. The content side of things actually makes it simpler because we know that we can guarantee that the players are going to come in at a specific area, they're going to work through the content in a specific manner. You know, we're able to control that and provide a more cinematic, that more curated experience.
Well, isn't that the point? What was he saying was the original point? I hope not tech.
But it adds significantly more challenges on the technology side, where we've got lots of different people coming into a specific area and then they're all being instanced off. So marrying those two together and then trying to deliver it to a live service like Star Citizen is a significant challenge. Well, ultimately, the patch wasn't ready to go. And I think that's just, it's black and white. You know, we
I feel like Rich just missed a huge opportunity to be like, well, ultimately, the patch must not go. Why didn't you do it, Rich?
Never want to release a patch into the wild that is in a position that we think the players are not going to enjoy.
Okay, he's. I got to go back. We got to go back to what he was saying last time, because that's. I feel like that is almost a response to what he was on camera saying here.
With dialogue and facial animation,
which is for some reason much quieter. Why is this video so much quieter? Y'all can hear that, right?
Which allows us to inject some of the different complex systems together, because it takes players on that journey throughout the game.
Hold on. Let me just find this for you. Much easier. Patch must go. Okay. What the hell? Sorry, guys. Here we go. This is what I was looking for. So this is the important part. Let's listen to this.
How we operate and how we release things. How do you think that's gone?
I think it's gone very well. I think if the mantra that I've always been pushing this year at the beginning of January was patch always goes. And I think this year has seen a different development strategy for how we've been moving the game forward. That's where this different strategy has allowed us to really take a wider approach. And we also have to remember that Star Citizen is played by tens of thousands of players every day. And while we have lofty future goals, we still have to make decisions right now that make the game fun for the people that are playing it all the time, playing it as their daily game. If you look at previous years, we've had to hold a patch back, we've had to make concessions, mainly due to around a feature may not have been ready or right to go into there.
There were 3 months, 4 months, sometimes 5 months between
Exactly,
patches.
and I don't think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players. I don't think it's good for the development team. I think it's better to have regular cadence of drops. One good example is this year.
So they got really into this idea that they needed to have regular cadence of drops, but the drops were decreasing in value or in quality. And so now he's back on camera. This is what, 8 months later, I think, saying this.
Patch wasn't ready to go. And I think that's just, it's black and white. You know, we never want to release a patch into the wild that is in a position that we think the players are not going to enjoy.
The challenge.
And so there's a dichotomy there. You got to pick one. Regular cadence or patches that people will enjoy. And there is the obvious choice of delaying things out of patches when they're not working, but they haven't proven they can even get things in patches that do work. Everything seems to have some kind of underlying problem. So combined with this whole improvement of the game, with Rich taking this stance that maybe they don't want to do patches that aren't working, maybe they're flipping the script and they're taking a different approach. I'm glad that they're responding and reacting. I don't know if it's legit. And you know, this is a lot of just kind of talk and saying. We haven't got a lot of actual information yet, but it's different messaging than it was before. And I don't know if it's just messaging for the sake of messaging or if they've actually got this in their bones. We'll see.
In a position that we think the players are not going to enjoy.
The challenge of instancing has been an experience for all involved. But throughout that process, the core methodology has been, how do we create the best experience we can as we're developing this new technology? And that's always been the kind of like the guiding light that's seen us through. We develop an experience that we feel like would be tailored best to the instancing. And as that technology develops and as we test it, we course correct and we try and make great decisions to improve the gameplay as we go.
The teams on SC are just fundamentally super fans, right? They want it to be great, but it is a difficult project, right? Also the fact that we're shipping patches, like it starts from there, right? Like what we're in right now, every issue is rising up in priority. The turnaround time becomes hours, not weeks or sprints. That causes frustrations, but you know, this is a bit of the DNA of the project, is to build the AAA game in the open.
This is again that same kind of, I think, pressure we saw building from this approach last year.
Mainly due to around a feature may not have been ready or right. I think that's good for anybody. I don't think it's good for the players. I don't think it's good for the development team. I think it's better to have regular cadence of drops.
Now, I don't think that's necessarily putting them at odds. I think it's more of a philosophy thing than any one thing that any one person is pushing. But this idea of regular cadence, again, I think is the pain point. Regular cadence is doable, but they're also talking about having too long between patches so players get bored. But they're also talking about making sure that their patches are stable so that players can enjoy them when they come in. And they're talking about making sure that content is dropping to keep everything good. There's so many like objectives that they're throwing around, and then at the end of it, it's all just like make the game, and they can't focus on it. It's such a crazy situation.
Many other MMOs have instancing already, and this is essentially our take on it. To do that, we have built a reimagined version of Siege of Orison, which was designed from the ground up to be more fireteam-sized cooperative experience, narratively driven, much more curated experience than the old Siege was.
So on the original Siege, it was very much an open world gameplay activity. Now this came with a lot of merits. It certainly felt like a Star Citizen experience. You could play with a lot of people, you saw a lot of other people, but it also came with a bit of chaos and a bit of unpredictability. So with instancing, we was allowed the opportunity to fix a few of those problems and then also increase the production value and integrate things that we've wanted to do in story design and mission design since the original. Even though you're in a separate instance from others, you're still in the overall game world. So what that means is the time of day is still the same time of day. Sometimes it might be daytime, sometimes it might be...
That actually is a really nice detail. I like that. It still at least feels connected.
Nighttime, but probably what will happen is if it starts at nighttime, it will become daytime, which is really cool because you feel that progression of time. And then when you go back to the social area, there's no time switch, it's one seamless experience. And I know that was very important from Chris from the get-go, is it is seamless. It's no trickery. You're still part of the game world, but we're just able to give you a very specific gameplay experience outside of an open world setting.
It very much is basically that. I think a lot of folks, myself included, were hoping that it was going to be a chance for them to split these instances off into their own servers, which granted, if you think about it, would end up with a whole bunch of servers, like hundreds of servers just for that one event or thing that's going on. So maybe that was kind of dumb to think about in hindsight, but this is definitely a chance for them to just curate a little thing for somebody to do. And with this being the first implementation of it, I am pretty interested in seeing how they could build on this in more open and more less perceivable environments, you know, outposts on cities, areas and distribution centers, maybe space stations that have been abandoned. How can they slip instancing into those situations in ways that you don't really notice?
For me, Star Citizen should be like this wide, big open church for everyone. So it doesn't, like, you don't have to be a PvP player, you don't have to be a PvE player. I mean, if you want to be mining or salvaging or ultimately farming or just hanging out, great. You should be able to do all those things and not be forced in any one thing. And there should be opportunities for players to do both those things without being forced into the other thing. So like, for instance, the instancing is a good way for someone that wants to engage in PvE content to not be forced to do PvP content. And there'll be some other areas where we'll set up that are not instance, and that will be more like, okay, that's PvP. Like, so contested zones or something would be more like, okay, there could be cool loot in here, but there may be other players that can be getting in your way or shooting you or fighting you or whatever. For me, there should not be a win state in Star Citizen. It really is sort of a life state, a universe that you can escape into and have as, you know, hours of fun by yourself or with your friends, and, you know, you should be able to partake and absorb content at your own pace.
So every patch comes with what I'd call a live support cost. And that live support cost is fixing all the issues that have been introduced by adding something new. So if you look at any piece of technology, if you took a single build from Star Citizen and you kept it in isolation and no one ever touched it, the bugs that are there would be there, but no other new bugs would exist. That's what you would have for eternity. But every time that we add something new, whether it's a new piece of content, a new feature, a new technology, it has this ripple effect across the rest of the project. And that ripple effect causes things that you don't necessarily have your focus on right now, that is breaks. So the challenge that we have is that the development team is focused on the new things, the new flagship content that's going into the game, but we need to rely on the test team and the production team and the live development team to evaluate the existing content, and anything that gets broken or degrades from the previous patch needs to then be raised up.
This is a huge problem people have been calling out a lot last year. You guys might remember my rants about people calling everything an event. It was very I did it earlier actually during this stream. Everything was an event in 2025, right? All these things that were permanently being added to the game were still seen as events. And when I asked people, why do you call these events when they're going to be sticking around for good? One of the responses I got was because CIG treats it as an event. They add the content, it comes in, it works, next patch comes out, old stuff breaks, and they don't really come back to it. And that's kind of what he's describing here, is every patch that they bring in has more stuff that stacks on that they need to work on, and they're getting split between working on the game that exists, the bugs that already exist and make things worse, and the bugs that they're introducing with new content and features. That's why they stopped doing features in 2025. That's why we saw less bugs growing. A lot of folks who are playing right now weren't playing before 2025. This is how the game always was. The only reason people are freaking out about it now is because CIG has set expectations differently. After 2025, they dropped server meshing. They started releasing more trailers for the game that looked like an actual story. They were doing Twitch drops and permanent rewards that went to your account, making people feel like it was a real game. All this stuff built up expectations that they didn't meet. And now it seems maybe they realize that they do need to meet those expectations. We'll see. But regardless, that's just like... they were going too fast. They have been going too fast. The patch must go wasn't working, and they do need to keep a steady stream of money, but they also need to keep a steady stream of stability, and it's not easy. This is what we covered in the video. This is what we covered in the video I released, I think, last week. This one, where we talked about the fact that they needed to make a hard choice. They needed to either slow down on what they were doing and try to make things more stable and sacrifice the ability to keep adding more features quickly. And we're actively starting to see some of that, at least in the roadmap roundups, with item recovery slipping. They still haven't talked about Starware coming for 4.11, so that might be something they've also dropped out, or maybe they're waiting to make it a surprise that they've already told us about. But it's all important, in my opinion, that they need to understand this idea that, like, this isn't just a game in development anymore. It's too late. This is a launch game and they got to treat it as such.
As we start to scale test the instancing technology and the content with it, we find a lot of issues that were difficult to predict in internal testing.
I am the SC Dev QA coordinator. We provide information from players, from playing the game or testing the game, to the developers. One of the main jobs we do is that we will take that information that comes from the issue council, and then we try to add as much context onto that, as much sort of detailed debug or code-based stuff that we can then hand it over to the devs and say, hey, this is what the players are seeing, and here's hopefully everything you need.
As a production team on Star Citizen, we're quite in tune with each other, so we know what's up and what's happening on the project. Right now, we're counting around with each other, so we know what's up and
Just saw this Adobe logo over here and almost retched.
what's happening on the project. Right now, we're counting around 120 bugs to be resolved before we go live. So whatever issues are outstanding with your teams that are stuck in triage, please get them moving.
The bug where the instances collapse in on themselves got reopened.
Yeah, there was 2 major events of that last night.
Yeah, there was an issue with the build that was deployed for this Mark Complete thing yesterday. Rich and Nathan worked on it together to fix it, and a new build got deployed, or made at least, possibly not deployed, so that'll need retesting today. There's a set of bugs that arise from the fact that you can QT or otherwise travel to a party member who is in an instance and like in a ship.
We deny if they're in an instance, we deny your ability to QT there? Or could we QT them to the nearest non-instance location?
It has a feeling of like the it's shot like a documentary, but it has like the camera shake of a almost like a TV production, which I think throws off the feeling of receiving it. But it looks like it's just meant to be shot like a documentary, really. It's definitely staged. I don't know about them saying the lines that they're saying on camera is staged, right? A camera person came into the room and was like, hey, we're just trying to get some footage of you working. Sorry to interrupt. Please just say whatever it is that you were saying, or like go back and please say the last thing you were saying with those people and we'll watch it. It's going to be staged to some extent. It's not like they're getting like fly on the wall kind of input, but I think it is good to at least see that there are real people, sitting at tables, working on this stuff, talking to each other. A lot of what matters in today's age on the internet is like, if people don't see it and actively taste the fact that it's happening, then it's not really happening. So I think that does kind of help.
Theory, we could. The repro steps are mostly QT to that person because that's the easiest way to do it. The fix for preventing you from doing that final hop of QT to the party member, one of our teams in CGP, they basically wired up the fact that somebody is in an instance, they've wired that to our existing invalid target flow. This is a perspective of a player who has a friend who's already in a Siege of Horizon instance. So they zoom in on Siege, they click on their friend, they route to it and try to initiate the quantum travel. Now, it'll tell you can't. It tells you the target's in the instance. And the behavior here, the fact that it still calibrates, the fact that you can actually still attempt to initiate the quantum travel is consistent with with how the system works, basically. Consistent with other is...
Just trying to see what his post-its say. Doesn't go any lower than that. Good cut.
Consistent with with how the system works, basically, for when you have a target that's invalid. Once you get to this point, you would then need to know that you actually need to follow the mission flow to go to the correct place, to go to the elevator, to actually go into the instance.
See, actually having the real people explain this stuff is still good. It might not be the most effective stuff that they can do, but I do think this kind of stuff is helping.
To the instance.
We've got to make sure we're buttoning things down and getting things finished, right? Ensure that everything that is currently in is working as reliable as it can. Plan is to ship next week, Wednesday, if all goes well.
Right now, it's all about every day send a build out, verify performance, verify functionality, all overseeing everything from content to engineers, because there's content changes that affect the technology. And so it's just a constant terrain of verification. I tend in these big features push to just be with the backers on Spectrum to talk about what they experience so that we can prioritize directly.
Live development comes with the advantages of live feedback. I read feedback.
And disadvantages.
I'm on Spectrum, forums, Reddit, Discord, definitely YouTube, streaming, Twitch. I watch a lot of the feedback and I read a lot of the feedback. I absolutely leverage that
Dude,
feedback.
what are these sitting? Is it okay? This looks like a speaker. Yeah, these look like speakers, which is interesting. I've never look almost like woofers. Yeah, that's a speaker too.
Feedback, and I read a lot.
Okay, that's also a speaker. I see.
Of the feedback. I absolutely leverage that feedback to help us shape the
Looked
game.
like a freaking floodlight for a second.
That's one of the
It's
advantages.
like, why do you have that in your face?
We know that the players know the game better than anybody, and we want the players to give us that information so that we can shape the game. And we also have, you know, Chris has a strong vision for where the product's going and where the game's going, and we ultimately have to marry that together to create that best experience. And that's a unique aspect of live development.
I think what we can start with is, what would you say is the prevailing sentiment in the community right now regarding 4.10?
I think there was initial cautious optimism towards it if we could fix some of the problems. Every day we look at what the top issues that came on issue council from the latest build, along with the top issues for all of the PT overall.
But also, no, you guys, you kind of reach out actively to some community members. You like in the Discords, you're scrolling through Reddit and whatnot.
That's where players are, right? If they're playing through a session, they're going to be in the Discord with their friends, especially for a cooperative gameplay experience like this. And so when a problem first comes,
I find that so funny. Like, if somebody is going to be playing with a friend in Star Citizen, then they've got to be in Discord.
that's where the discussion is going to happen initially. And so to get ahead of that, we kind of need to be in those locations, in addition to just watching Twitch streamers, right?
Like, I know that's not what he's saying. He's talking about, you know, like, people are just naturally spending time in these places and talking to each other. It's completely valid he's saying that. I think it's just funny that it kind of also sounds like a dig at the social tools. It's not what he's saying.
Watching Twitch streamers go through this content, and we'll see them hit an issue live. And we just look at, okay, overall, is this something players are making a lot of noise about? And then we'll bring that up as this is probably something we should fix, especially if it's new. And usually it is. If it's something they're making a lot of noise about, it's something new. I think performance is a bit of a weak point. I'm glad to see some of the focus we got in 4.10, so I'm hoping we can kind of turn that around.
For the record, we all know that 10pound42 found client-side FPS improvements in 4.9 over 4.8. They're reporting FPS improvements in 4.10 over 4.9. I have only played it a little bit with you guys yesterday, so we've got some more gameplay to do there. I would give it a few weeks as well to see if there's any degradation. But it sounds like there is a positive trend going on with stability.
Found out that you can't even take out your helmet for the new heavy armor. Every day when we go through these issues, there's some kind of problem that has been identified, and when fixed, may invalidate the problem that has been identified.
Is that too? Yeah, bruh, that's sick.
And when fixed, may invalidate all these bugs.
Sure.
And we have to revalidate all these bugs.
Yes.
It's very time consuming.
Sure.
Like, I have this on instancing. Oh, respawn is completely broken. Oh yeah, we're gonna remove the SV. It will be fine. Wasn't fine. I'm not saying that we're shooting silver bullets and they should be fixing everything. It's just very time consuming to revalidate all the bugs that we're seeing. Right. Because of one or two bugs getting fixed. It's frustrating because it's like 2 steps forward, 1 step back, 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
We get it.
And so that's why the everyday build is the way to build, observe, discuss, prioritize, fix. And so it's a churn. It's a big churn.
I think this is a good look into how this works. If they keep doing this, and I'm not saying they have to do it for every patch, but if they keep doing this, sort of just looks into what the actual process of making this looks like. It's genuinely good content. It might not be what we're all looking for. It might not be exactly what people want to, like, explain the problems. Obviously, this isn't the action of fixing the game, and there's plenty of PR involved here. But this is what I wanted from postmortems, you know? This is what I want to see more of in, I mean, this is kind of like Bug Smashers a little bit. It'd be nice if we got a little more of the insight, but it's kind of bringing some different parts of different things that they've done before and combining them, I think, to give an overall look into what game development is, which is the whole point of what they've been supposed to be doing with this content. Next thing to confirm is if the subscriber funding is going to this.
I think where 410 really stands out is these engine level sort of integrations and sort of technologies that come with a lot of, you might not see anything necessarily as a player, but very, very heavy testing cycle on it.
At the moment, we are testing with the community and finding
Everyone looks tired.
Our primary objective.
Dude, this is the lead up to 4.10. This is potentially the worst possible time to have been working at CIG if you pay attention to public stuff. Like, the dates that they're showing here are the first couple weeks of August, and this thing happened August 5th. So this happened 2 days after the filming of this started, or at least the first shots that we saw of the filming started. And throughout this whole thing happening, and probably the kind of blow up that happened after that, they were working on this. It probably was tiring. Not only are they working on trying to recover from 4.8, but the environment is just crazy. If you're, again, looking into the public internet, obviously I think the company internally probably was just like, whatever.
Is to stabilize the technology.
Well, the big thing that we as QA always have to overcome, and can't in many cases, is dealing with what happens when you put it out in front of players, what happens when you've got it in a live environment with 600 players on a server and thousands of processes happening concurrently. And something we get by putting a lot of content onto a new technology is that we're going to test it at its limit straight out of the gate. And that's actually a really good way to offset risk. If you push that down the road, underlying problems, like deep systemic problems with the technology, are going to get worse and worse.
When it goes to the PTU, it helps us out. But again, even in the PTU, we don't usually get enough people playing it in the PTU. We don't get enough concurrency. So that's one of the challenges right now. And 410, testing Siege of Horizon, is like, we need to get more and more people, so we're really...
Dude, more people in this company say Horizon than Orison, and it's driving me crazy. The PTU testing thing was something that Benoit has actually just commented on. We went over that a couple days ago. They do want to get more people in PTU. Got to figure out a way.
Filling up the shards and the instances and seeing what the strain is on the system.
The data we got was pretty damning. There's a lot of issues that we've witnessed with performance, desync, and other associated problems. One very common thread was NPC desync, and in general, it seemed like a wider range of desync issues.
We need to get a lot more precise with the word desync. So you're talking about he's shooting at you, but he's not aiming at you.
Yeah, like the reason I say desync is because to the naked eye, when you first look at it, it looks like it's AI desync, but obviously knowing that I'm on a 4-person server and the server was at a solid like 30 or whatever FPS, I know it can't be desync.
What we were hoping to get was clarity on what the remaining issues are, but in fact we found a lot more, and that's concerning.
Wait a second. Hold on. I thought he was talking to camera here.
What we were...
No, that's not. I was trying to figure out if this was a shot of him responding to Elliot, but I don't think it is. I think it just happens to be him talking there.
Hoping to get was clarity on what the remaining issues are, but in fact we found a lot more, and that's concerning. Another core component of how we made Siege differently is the AI. So in the rest of Star Citizen, the AI is populated by what we call spawn closets. So these spawn closets will populate the game based on various rule sets. With instancing, what we can do is we can place those AI logically where we'd want them to be. So an example would be part of the map will have sniper positions. Previously, this would have been impossible because there's no spawn closets up there. So we can tailor a more of a paced combat engagement rule set. So it's less about fighting overwhelming numbers and more about creating combat scenarios which will feel fun to play through.
You guys are going to crack up, but the first thing I think of when he says they need to have sniper nests with snipers that can get up there without spawn closets, I think of the jackals going up the little hover elevator in Halo 2 and beyond. Oh man, I've got Halo brain, dude.
Getting in this morning.
11 days till launch of 4.10. So just to be clear, 4.10 was yesterday. So this would be 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This was the day. What we're seeing right now is the day before all of the craziness started to happen outside of the community with the whole SCL being posted and reacted to elsewhere.
I was already aware that we had some outstanding issues with Mendo Ren. He was 100% accurate, and I think that we've had a lot of like frustrations with it, and so we've gone in and we've tweaked some of the values and given it to QA to do a 4-man playtest, a 2-man playtest, and a solo run through trying to fight Mendo Ren. Now the important thing is to get it out to players.
The big thing for us with Siege has just been the volume of testing we've had to do with it. The iteration has been really rapid.
Dude, I would love to see something like this for Genesis, for the Planet Tech release in 4.11. Oh my God, I would love to see something like this for that development.
And these big engine changes where we may need to retest absolutely everything and just make sure nothing is worse, because actually that's going to help performance over the long run. Now, we in QA will sometimes deal with 6-7 builds a day. What that brings is fantastic iterative testing, where we're getting the latest updates from the developers. Hey, can you go check the fix for this bug right now? It's not quite worked in this way. Cool, we'll put it back in. Now, here's the new one. You know, the PTU gives us a more stable soak environment where we can leave things doing things over a longer period of time, which typically is difficult to do in QA. We have to bounce around between so many different things. Sometimes testers are moved between tasks 4 or 5 times a day to get onto the priorities.
I think what we're hoping is that what we'll deploy today will try to get more concurrency so we can test it, because really originally Siege of Arisen was meant to go in 4.9 and we took it out of 4.9 because it wasn't ready. It's in 4.10 and now we're running late on 4.10. Hopefully we'll get on the PTU and get enough people play it that it seems like it's in good shape, and then we can leave it on the weekend for people to hammer on it and let it soak.
I feel
But why was it? Never mind.
confident that everyone now is on the same page of what's left
So
to
at
be
this point, they're in the cluster of the stuff going on in the outside.
done.
I don't think that really makes much of a difference in any of this. I'm just adding context.
So I'm quite optimistic that we will get there. With Siege, the progression is the player's group enters that instance and they automatically become enrolled into the mission. So the mission exists inside the instance. That is a process in which we were going for. In the future, we want to do things like the player accepts a mission and then that then permeates through into the instance layout. So that mission might inform a dungeon layout, or it might inform the enemy types inside that instance.
I bet that's what they want to do with the municipal
so
works.
In the future, the instancing will be done in
On
a
the
variety
spot.
of different ways.
Yeah,
Battaglia
that's good.
is also a new addition for 4.10, which is really cool. She is also part of an instance. She works in the same way that the instancing works for Siege. So you go through a elevator transition, then that then separates you into your own instance. And the reason why we wanted to do this for Battaglia is, again, we wanted to deliver a more prescribed scenario so that, you know, it's not filled with loads of other people, so that as you're having that interaction with the mission giver, it is contained and it's validated. In the future, again, we'll open this up to more players, or we'd have the concept of
Freaking optimizing shaders, dude. Can't get away from it.
more social instanced areas, so it doesn't feel like you're just completely separated from the open world. But we made that decision for Battaglia just to prescribe that experience. And it's also kind of cool because we were...
Dude, somebody's got to make this a meme. Somebody has to make this a meme here, where Ian points... Oh my God. I'm not creative enough to do it. I guess I could actually. See, he points here. He's like
completely separated from
he goes,
the open world.
Wait a second.
But
What
we
happened to
made
her
that
hair here?
decision
It's all
to
weird
prescribe
now.
that experience. And it's also kind of cool because we were able to do another mission giver again. So it's been a little while since we've been able to do a physical mission giver. So that's been awesome in terms of we've been able to tell a deeper story in Nyx. So as we've been slowly unveiling activities in Nyx, it's been very rewarding to see a deeper story arc be established and released.
One of the things that I've been looking at is the client performance. We're using our analytics that we capture and graphing that out so that we can see how performance is trending over time. We've been making steady improvements through analyzing some of the captures and actually finding areas where we're being a little bit less performant than we could be. And that's why we have this kind of gradual...
God, there's so much good B-roll in this video. This is also interesting. Percentage of frames by FPS bucket build and date versus FPS. So just tracking the average FPS. Interesting. This is probably percentage of frame drops, I guess.
Increase over time.
Percentage of wall time spent below 30%, or 30 frames, okay.
We actually removed some of the sort of dev debug things that we have on in the frame that we need during development so that we can analyze memory usage, track down multi-threaded issues and stuff like that, but all of which
Wonder
come
what
at a
happened
cost.
here.
And one of the last things that we do before we actually release a build is to turn some of those things off. And that's why you see that big jump there. That's when we turned off a bunch of stuff that we have on during dev, and we get a big performance increase because the build is now essentially...
Good job, writer.
More like it would be during when it's actually deployed for post-release.
On a performance front, it was challenging, but the improvements that we've seen over time and the work that QA have put in with developers to help refine that, where we've been taking performance data every single day. So whenever they put in a new optimization, they can compare the data to the previous day and go, oh, we gained a microsecond here, or we gained 10 frames over here or whatever, and they know where to lean in and push on it.
I'm Luc Gijsbertsen. I'm a lead environment artist here on the PU.
I was spelling his name wrong all this time. It's Luke, as in like, look. But look, this is one of the guys that people were saying hated everybody else on that stream the other day.
What makes Siege very special is that we get to really curate the player experience here. And it gives the opportunity to the environment teams to really highlight where the gameplay needs to happen, where the focus needs to go, and we really get to enhance the gameplay experience underneath it. So when it comes to optimization, it's rather complex because there's different parts of the game go either to the CPU or the GPU of the computer, and we need to make sure that we optimize that in the right way. One of the things that is very expensive to calculate on the GPU is refraction cost. So what we're trying to do is to find outliers. GPU is refraction.
They've got a lot of Corsair. A lot of Logitech and Corsair, I'm noticing. Actually, a lot of Asus monitors. I'm seeing a lot of Corsair and Logitech peripherals. And I actually, whatever those speakers you guys mentioned are everywhere.
Cost. So what we're trying to do is to find
standing desk's also
outliers
nice
that have these refraction issues. So what we can do is we can actually use console commands to find what is being expensive. Are decals, and there's no need for them to be transparent in that sense. So we can have a quick look to kind of see what is going on. I quickly sample the material to kind of figure out what is wrong. And then this should not be using forced transparency. And we have a look and we remove the forced transparency and mark it as a decal.
Man.
Visually, no difference, but computing-wise, a lot cheaper.
It's interesting. I think of Luke as a base building developer, you know, but it's interesting to just see how wildly different somebody's responsibilities might be because of their specialties, because of what they do. This is still level design, so I guess base building probably falls into level design. Did he did say exactly what he does. Let's go back to that real quick. Yeah, lead environment artist. So that makes sense if he's going to be doing base building stuff.
I'm Luc Gijsbertsen. I'm a lead environment artist here on the PU team. What makes Siege...
Would love to interview him. I do enjoy listening to him explain what he's doing.
And we really get to enhance the gameplay player experience underneath it. So when it comes to see and look, and we remove the force transparency and mark it as a decal. Visually,
the speakers that I was identifying were in offices, not in the cubicles.
No difference, but computing-wise, a lot cheaper.
So just kind of bring us back to the state of the patch. We discussed 2 days ago what issues are left outstanding, and we were just discussing number 1 on that list in quite a lot of detail, which is good.
What's the current ETA of that fix going in? Is that going in today,
It
tonight,
is not going
tomorrow?
in today. Maybe if we're lucky, we get a hot fix build later.
Not gonna lie, the looks at the faces, people are just like, you better answer this correctly, boy.
Deployment, but that's not guaranteed. The other issue that we mentioned a few days ago was the instance heartbeats and player tracking, which caused a lot of instances to just vanish. Investigation is ongoing. When we have that fix in, we'll revalidate all these issues we found.
I do know that there's been a concerted push to improve performance that Carl's been leading, and that looks to me like it's actually been bearing some good fruit, which is good. But let's get lots of people on tonight.
Final thing to say is
Dude, they've probably had some difficult conversations at this table over the last several months. I don't know if this is their situation room table. It kind of looks like it. You got freaking Gary Oldman looking over you. Can't get better than that. I feel like this is an important room, and these are some pretty important folks. I actually don't recognize a lot of them. There's Ben. I actually thought from the hair that this was Torsten. It's not. Chris and Rich. It's an important group. I bet this is where some of the important conversations happen.
Working on a community post to share the results of this endeavor so everyone understands the effort to investigate these issues, to fix them, and what it should mean for them.
So it looks like we're in good shape for going live next week.
As long as Clive gets his fix in, we have everything we need to make this shippable. Then it's just like, how high is the quality bar? We know that there's 1 or 2 issues remaining that need to get fixed, but we want to...
Jared is on his honeymoon right now. He was gone for most of this month, I believe. He's been traveling with his new wife and kids. Hipita, thank you for the sub, by the way. Appreciate you, dude. Also, Jared isn't necessarily a gameplay director. Like, he's not going to be in this room. These are team leaders of folks that are getting ready to try and launch this patch out. Yeah, poor Clive Johnson, huh? Get it right, Clive.
We know that there's 1 or 2 issues remaining that need to get fixed, but we want to make sure that we don't get caught off guard last minute by any critical issues. So monitoring and observing players all time, 24/7 is critical at this point.
I wonder if this is how it went to the lead up to 4.8.
There is one outstanding issue that was raised last night in the meeting. That issue you're saying there's been a fix been put in, and it's going through testing right now. And hopefully, if that gets tested, is that going to get in tonight's PTU?
I would be surprised.
Okay, but let's
wait. Yeah,
but
let's wait for the.
It can go in. We should be good for tomorrow to go in.
Yes.
And then if that holds, we're golden.
Yes.
Okay.
We had a very clear
Clive?
vision of what it was that we wanted to do with this technology, and we knew...
Might not be Clive Johnson they were talking about, sorry.
That we would have some challenges integrating this with the engine as a whole. We knew that we were going to have a period of hardening the tech and how it integrated with the game. And that's essentially what we've been through. And I think we're almost there.
Is he talking about instancing or server meshing? Sorry.
Challenges. And we had a very clear vision of what it was that we wanted to do with this technology. And
instancing,
we
I'm
knew
guessing.
that and how it almost there, basically there, let's say. I don't know why, but I feel so much more nervous today. It's weird, like I almost can't speak properly. It's like I've got a frog in my throat.
But you did great last time.
I know, and I enjoy doing this kind of thing. It's bizarre. It's not been easy.
Well, thank you, dude. Appreciate it.
I guess nothing worth doing is easy. Yeah.
My name is...
It's hard not to appreciate the effort that every individual puts in. I think most people who are angry about the state of the game are more angry at like the overall entity of CIG and the way that it's going, rather than any specific person, because everybody's there trying to do their job. I think most people, I assume.
Eric Green. I'm the Director of Publishing Operations. So if we're saying that we're going for, say, a Wednesday release, which we try to do, we like to use essentially what was this past weekend as a soak weekend. And so this is kind of like our last effort and attempt that we can afford to kind of learn some of that information before it goes to live. By Tuesday evening, we can hand that off to QA. So just making sure the environment appears to be working as intended. And so we're good to go. And if everything's good, we hit the button, the magical red button.
My man's in slippers shorts with the fun hat on. He's here to chill and get that work done how he needs to.
That launches it, right?
What's his name again?
So
yeah.
My name is Eric Green. I'm
Eric
the
Green.
Director of Publishing Operations. So
Bruh.
if we're saying that...
Thank you. Director of Publishing Operations probably does a freaking absolute monstrous amount of work when patches go out.
Forward to kind of learn some of that information before it goes to live. By Tuesday evening, we can hand that off to QA. So just making sure the environment appears to be working as intended. And so we're good to go.
Oh, shoot. I just spotted the Serenity shirt, too. These guys, dude.
Just making sure the environment appears to be working as intended. And so we're good to go. And if everything's good, we, hit the button, the magical red button somewhere that launches it, right?
Welcome back, everybody, to another sit rep. There were 2 issues, really, that we were trying to get fixed before we kick our release candidate.
The core game experience for 4.10, regardless of Siege, as far as I've been told and experienced, is better than 4.9 or 4.8.
Yes, across the board.
The patch notes are massive. Like, there's so many things fixed.
Top level fixes, so that's in a good place to be. Obviously, we want to be better than where we are, even so. Why don't we get this change resolved now? Let's chase this fix from Alejandro from testing, and let's pull the trigger.
I think it's
coffee,
basically
dude.
go time. Like, we had a very successful PTU at the weekend. The tech seems to have stabilized. Any critical or blocking issues that we've had to this point, we're not seeing anymore. So yeah, we're ready to go. Later today, we'll press the button and it'll go live to players.
One thing that I've always said...
All right, while this is wrapping up, chat, I'd love to hear in the chat your opinions. If you've been playing the patch so far, like I said, it's only been live for like 26 hours, maybe 27. It's going to take time to see how the server health is doing, but what have you guys been noticing? Anything that was broken before working better? Anything that was working well, not working? Anything that just feels overall better quality to you?
The directors I work with, or the teams, I actually called up someone recently and had this conversation, is I try and stay in the middle. So when we have an amazing patch and people are really excited about it and having loads of fun, try and stay in the middle. And vice versa, when we have a patch that doesn't do as well as we'd hoped, then again, you don't want to be in the doldrums. You need to be in the middle. You need to be pragmatic and keep moving forward, because live development is an ongoing process. It's a continual development process that is difficult. It's a lot different challenge compared to just standard game development, where you're working in isolation and then you release the game at the end. But I think the way I cope with it and the way I give the advice to the other team members is just always try and stay in the middle.
One of the things I've always been able to do in every game that I've made is when I start out to make it before everything's there, I can see the game. So that was the case when I made Wing Commander. It's been the case I've made pretty much all the games. I can see it in my mind, and then
Bro,
I think
there's no way that's Chris's desk. Maybe it's Chris's desk.
I can see it in my mind, and then I think my talent has been able to deliver the vision that I have in my mind. Sometimes it takes longer than other times, especially as things get bigger and more complicated. But the vision for Star Citizen and the immersive universe that I think it can be when it's all said and done, and we've got those rough edges, polished and we've got the content that's there that will sort of put you in, and the ability for people to do all the different things they want to do and do it well, I think it'll be huge. My goal is just keep on swimming like Dory. We're just going to keep on swimming, getting out there, trying to improve, build after build. Ultimately, we're moving towards that end goal and that vision of making this incredible, immersive, seamless universe.
My man just quoted Dory. The journey to Alpha 4.11 starts now. That's a very, whoa. Hold on. That's a very hyped thing to say for just another patch. Interesting. I wonder if they have more things planned in terms of content. Let us please stop for a second and give a round of applause to Olli. Honestly, dude, well done. I think this is a great first effort. I know everybody assumes that like his live stream thing on the SCL was his first effort. I think that was probably just a chance for him to like try something. I don't think that's what he was brought in for, as we covered towards the beginning of this whole thing. He wasn't brought in to be on camera. He ended up on camera for that, but ultimately I think he was brought in to try and help put more perspective into the content they're making that comes from someone who may have seen it from another angle and obviously has a name and a background that can help to do that. So shout out to Olli for a good go at it. This is a decent production. I'm not going to say that this solves anything. I think this is a great fluff it up, pick it up, feel good kind of piece. It does a good job of explaining the processes behind launching a patch, which is important. It's kind of like what a lot of us came here for. It's what a lot of people already know if you've been following Star Citizen long enough. But this is back to the good stuff, in my opinion. Actual interviews may be staged, possibly, but they're showing us firsthand looks at the computers and the work they're doing. They're showing us a little bit more of the talks that they have between each other rather than just to us. And they're showing us the individuals who are actually working on this stuff, as opposed to the same names over and over, giving messages that feel more PR than development focused. A show like this could be great before each patch. I think a show like this could be great for any big initiative they're doing. So yeah, they release something big for every patch, but maybe they do something like this for IAE. So instead of the lead up to a patch dropping, they show us why IAE happens the way it does, why they make the decisions they do in terms of releasing ships and skins and stuff, maybe a little more perspective from the people who are making the cosmetics and like what their long-term plans for that is. I think this is a great opportunity, a great opportunity for them to take aspects from the different shows that they've made in the past that worked and put them together into something that overall gives a view of CIG, a view of game development, and a reminder of what's actually going on in the company. Justin Chambers also edited, Sandy produced, Lauren Burnett, David Duncurley, Mercy Rodriguez. Thank you guys producing. Got some editorial support, assistant editors, production coordinator, lighting camera, camera operator, production services, additional internal support, including CIG studio experience team. Jared was involved somewhat. Leah, Kat, Hunter, audio mixing, original music from Pedro, additional music licensing from a couple other places. This is a production. I mean, this certainly takes a lot of work. As far as thanks for following us to the film so candidly during the busy workdays leading up to this 4.10 release and to the countless hardworking developers across the globe. Yeah, this is a production. I hope that this puts in numbers. I hope that this gets attention. It looks like it's doing decent numbers. I hope that this honestly maybe makes some waves outside of the community. I don't think it will, but if like people latch onto this and it's not a response to the Star Citizen live stream, but whatever narrative they want to give themselves, if people latch onto this and say, hey, CIG is apologizing and trying to show more of inside the studio, that'll be good for them. I think that'll be a positive. So we'll see if it can get that far. A valiant effort, and I'm glad that they made the choice of bringing on somebody who was willing to try and push for this kind of thing to happen. With that being said, I'm sure we'll have plenty more to talk about this in the following days and weeks. I'm gonna try and get a good podcast episode in about this with, well, you know, yours truly. And yeah, there's that. You don't think we would get one every patch, but every quarter would be awesome? Every quarter would be nice. And it probably could be shorter and smaller effort. This is a lot of effort, it looks like. You don't think this one will reach outside the community? Yeah, I don't either. It's hopeful wishes. You think that CIG needs to be upending up the PTU for the next patch as soon as the previous one goes live? They shouldn't be pulling all-nighters the week before a patch drops. The PTU should be where all the features are showcased, not the live build. That's fair. I agree. PK and Vassin having fun in the chat. All right, guys, I think that's everything I wanted to go over today. Like I said, this was just, I just wanted to jump in real quick because I know some stuff was going on, and Friday we've got a Siege of Orison play planned for tomorrow. And I knew I wasn't going to be able to do all this then. Roadmap roundup. We can talk about roadmap roundup later. All right, y'all. That's it for me. Thank you so much for coming today. I appreciate you. Thank you for the support. Maverick with the bits, Mr. Deadset with the 59 months subbed at tier 1. Hell yeah, brother. I appreciate you. I'm sorry I missed you earlier towards the beginning of the stream. Thanks so much for the support, dude. Hipita, I appreciate you. 2 have become 3. Congratulations. I saw that from yesterday. Much love, dude. And thank you for gifting out a sub today. I see you, dude. Wildly Coyote, you as well. Appreciate you, dog. Appreciate you. Y'all are great. We're gonna come back tomorrow and we'll have some gameplay to do. Again, supporters, if you got the chance, tomorrow at 7 a.m. I will have Avenger 1, now known as Apprentice 1, on the podcast to talk about his return to Star Citizen, where that's coming from, combat in the game, how he's feeling about it, and what plans are going forward. Thank you all for being here. Thank you all for being you. Thank you all for being great. Love the garden. Love my time with you all. I'm gonna go get some work done. We got videos to make now, obviously, with all this stuff coming out. So I'll get to that and I'll see you tomorrow. Have a good one. Take care of yourself. Eat something you love. Do something you love. You know, hang out with people you love. You're good people. You deserve good things. Treat yourselves like the little garden celebrities you are. And I'll see you all tomorrow, bright and early. Oh, sounds folk. See you later.